Thank you, Mehul. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, and thank you for being with us in a Silver Jubilee function.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and congratulations to you, by the way. I will be sharing my slide right now and taking a quick start from there on. So hello, everyone. We are going to discuss how compensation and benefits can play an important role in achieving business objectives. A quick overview about me. I'm Kunal Wadhwani, and I head the human resources function for Choithrum's GCC. With a pretty modest start in 1944 in Sierra Leone, Africa, Choithrum's brand has come a very long way in establishing its presence in various industries and countries across the globe. Choithrum's happens to be a multinational organization with presence in various industries, which includes retail, distribution, agri-commodities, manufacturing, education, and healthcare. We have our business presence in 18 countries, and over 16,000 employees work and take care of our business segments. Now, since I have only 10 minutes to cover my points, I'll be quickly taking a leap onto today's topic. Compensation and benefits is a key element of HR function. It's also an important driver of the overall HR strategy. So what would CEOs expect C&B professionals to do, especially in the post-COVID scenario? Now, in my view, compensation and benefits professional need to align the C&B strategy with the company's business strategy. This can happen if C&B focuses primarily on three core factors. Number one, survey the existing landscape. Number two, define or plan the objectives and eligibility. And number three, focus on the mechanics of the plan. Now, when I look at the first factor, surveying the existing landscape, there are primarily 2 points that I can gather over here. Number one being clarify business or strategic objectives. Every year, companies go through planning exercises to define overarching corporate goals, which then trickle down to the associated departmental objectives, if I may say so. To have an effective variable compensation plan, these objectives should be aligned closely with the desired behavior of the workforce, especially in the post-COVID era. Number two, which is also a part of the first factor, is assessing the current plans. Now, generally, more focused and strategic assessment usually is conducted when company business objectives are reset for a new year or sometimes after a new organizational change occurs. However, with this unplanned outbreak, it would require compensation and benefits team to review their objectives one more time. This type of assessment should evaluate how well the existing plans are performing or would perform against the newly defined business objectives in the post-COVID era. When we segregate the sub-factors of the second point, which is plan, objectives, and eligibility, there are approximately 3 things that I can think of over here. Number one, define objectives of the sales plan. Now, most of the organizations are into sales, and now sales plan objectives should always align strategically with the high-level corporate goals. Too often, this step is overlooked and results in great compensation plans with poor company performance or great company performance with a disenchanted sales team because the objectives of the plan and the company were misaligned totally. The next point that comes to my mind within this factor is assessing the eligibility of jobs within the organization. Not all employees and positions will be on sales compensation plan. However, by evaluating human resource needs with the sales plan in mind, companies can make strategic decisions about what roles are required and which will be eligible for variable pay and what levels. Number three is establishing a compensation level within the organization. Now, typically, human resources and business operations collaborate to establish compensation levels. After roles have been defined, compensation levels can be determined based on a company's compensation philosophy, associated market pay benchmarking, and internal equity. And that leads me to the third factor, which is focusing on the mechanics of the plan, where there are again 2 sub-factors. First one being select performance measures and weightages. Keep it simple, maybe an overused proverb, but it is crucial for an effective compensation plan. In compensation terms, this means minimizing the number of measures. A rule of thumb is no more than 5 measures with 3 measures as an ideal. The more the measures, the more likely you dilute the importance of any one element, which ultimately results in an ineffective plan. And finally, to focus on the mechanics, you also need to develop the formulas within the organization. One or many elements can be considered when defining the associated formulas. However, in developing the formula and adding sophistication to it, it is still critical that companies keep the plan simple and transparent. So it's important to define who gets performance bonus in the organization. It's important to define who gets incentive in the organization, whether the commission is single or flat rate. Is it an individual commission rate? Is your commission structure tiered or ramped up? So there are many factors that you need to take care of. As we move on, when we talk about having an effective compensation strategy, it should always and always help achieve business results. So there is a three-tier factor over here. Number one, a company is always represented by its vision, ambition, and corporate values. In Choitrams, our corporate values are called CLIMB. We try and club customer centricity, integrity, leadership, meritocracy, where we reward employees, and finally, we are a boundaryless organization. When we combine these values, we try and associate these values and try and exemplify our sales and financial objectives, and we include them with our expectations of our behaviors and competencies that are prescribed for each job within the organization. Post this, the compensation strategy must definitely align the compensation and incentives with the financial objectives of the organization and the competencies. When I say this, basically, you don't want to have a person who delivers 130% performance and comes 3 hours late every day, right? It's actually a loss to the company. Had that person come on time on a daily basis, maybe he would have been more productive. Now, I understand that in a COVID situation at this particular point in time, when people are working from home, many would beg to disagree or try and realign or create new methods for this particular thing, which is fine. However, discipline happens to be one of the most important areas. Even if people are working from home, you want to try and set up a calendar timeline or a target timeline for them so that they don't misuse the work from home opportunity. At the same point in time, employees are not overworked when they're working from home as well. And when all these three factors are primarily aligned, employee works towards the company's objectives and is finally rewarded for achieving those objectives as well. At the same point in time, I would say balancing employee and business needs with financial goals is very crucial. I've already laid emphasis on why defining business plan are important to achieve strategic and financial goals. Clubbed with the HR strategy, including compensation and benefit strategy, which is the key driver of the overall business, I think goals get translated into objectives. There's a lot of alignment that employees themselves experience. When their goals are set, when their KPIs are set, they have absolute clarity. And then these kind of procedures are followed by performance assessment within the organization, where HR very closely works with business to determine salary increments and rationalization process within the organization. And before I conclude my short session today, I think I would like all of you guys to go back into your management schooling days. And I would like to reintroduce to you a very interesting concept that most of us have learned in our management schooling days, which is called as Johari window, a concept created by Joe and Harry. Now, it's a 4-quadrant process, and I thought it would be interesting to try and see if we can try and associate certain perspectives that are known to employee and certain perspectives that are known to compensation, or vice versa. Now, something that is known to the employee and known to compensation and benefits is what they see on the offer letter: the basic salary, the HRA, the dearness allowance, the living allowance, the additional benefit facilities that the company may want to publish on the offer letter. These are the known factors to the employee, and they are known to compensation and benefits or the organization as well. However, the interesting part is there is something that compensation and benefits would definitely know, but the employee does not necessarily know about it. And these perspectives are associated to the health and safety of the employees. Especially in COVID times, most of the companies, especially the essential workforce, Choitrams being one of them, we have been identifying, we have been isolating employees, we have been treating employees, we have been tracking them, we have been quarantining our employees, on a very regular basis. There have been constant communication, there have been constant skip session with employees, whether it is one-on-one if the employees are available in office, or if it is on a video call like this one. But we are trying to dispel fears that employees may have anything associated to COVID. And then finally, training and upskilling employees on an online tool at this particular stage. These are not necessarily seen as perks from the employee's perspectives. However, compensation and benefits team or organization realizes that they are making necessary investments into these elements as well. And finally, something that would be known to the employee or unknown to the compensation and benefits team, or maybe unknown to both, are the psychological alignment factors, which could be feeling of well-being, a relief from a very stressful situation, if I may say so, and improved engagement when the organization takes care of the employee. So I thought that it would be interesting to see if compensation and benefits professionals or HR professionals can come together, try and take this concept of Johari window, which primarily we have learned in our management schooling days as a concept to identify individual needs. If we try and associate Johari window to a department level or an organizational level, it can throw up so many amazing channels to use. It will give you so much of information about your organization that you may know or you may not know, and then you can start rearranging your processes, especially to manage the post-COVID era. Finally, if I have to conclude, I would definitely quote that the C&B strategy to deliver business objectives in the COVID environment may require you to redefine the compensation structure linked to the contribution of each job profile within the organization. The goals and targets may also need to be redefined, and compensation and benefits need to just change their thought process. They should not sit in a silo. Moving on, I think HR is changing, so does compensation and benefit should do. They should change moving on, and they need to talk to business more, try and understand what business perspectives are, what are the business's financial objectives. There are many people at this point in time who are going through a very, very tough phase because they are either getting laid off or they are getting a deduction in their salaries. It's sometimes easy to point fingers at the organization. I think C&B teams moving on need to talk to the business operations team. They need to try and understand how business has performed, especially during this particular outbreak. What are the new channels that business is planning to try and see how organization can recover? Only if compensation and benefit teams are aware of these particular methodologies that the business is planning, they may be able to try and amend the back end of C&B within the organization, change the variable plan concept, and try and see how new mechanisms can come into picture. C&B function can obviously help set new filters, can apply a new lens to the way we see compensation. If I talk about target achievement within Choitrams, we have to look at sales versus credit, and also the collections perspective that happens from our distribution business. When we talk about retail, we have to evaluate how our brick and mortar business is doing compared to our online e-commerce business as well. And then once we have redefined these perspectives, you have to look at how variable pay methodology changes within the organization. Moving on, how can you support by creating a new incentive or reward program within the organization? It's also important to manage open communication with business to understand the overall financial objectives. And if compensation and benefits professionals are able to achieve all these initiatives, especially in the next 4 or 5 months, then we can definitely guarantee that when employees are back in your organization, when businesses start to re-establish, you will have engaged and motivated employees in an absolute uncertain world. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having me on board. I think I'm trying to keep my time over here. And if there are any questions associated to my presentation, I'll be more than happy to take those. Thank you.
Thank you, Kunal. So that was wonderful insight, and thanks for joining all the way from Dubai. And great to see you are touching on very sensitive topic, Kunal, and we all actually affected, impacted by C&B team. Okay, whether salary increasing, decreasing, and all always. So one question, okay, I just wanted to understand, if CEO is asking you, okay, I have this much budget for C&B, what are the top two, section of the C&B or the section of the money, CEO is looking to spend? Salary is obviously by default, it will go to salary, but other than salary, like, wellness became immediately the big priorities, we need to spend. So likewise, would you like to say these are the top three where CEO is looking for C&B team to focus on?
I think, Ashish, you made it easy for me. You have answered the question. I think healthcare moving on will become one of the most important criteria. Look, till date, what used to happen is, and I come from an organization where we have approximately 73% blue collar workforce. For these people who are working at the shopper level, the stockers or the cashiers in the supermarket, the helpers in the warehouse section, If you go and tell them that, you know what, this is your salary, which may seem very less, but company is giving you a very big fat medical insurance policy and they don't care about it. They don't really care about it because for them, everything is cash in hand, right? And I think now the time has come where the sensitivities associated to healthcare, well-being of employees. When I say well-being, it is not just the medical insurance. Well-being is associated to creating emotional factors within the organization, working on the emotional quotient within the organization, try and get into leadership orientations where we make leaders understand the difference of how they should operate now, especially in the post-COVID area where most of the people are working from home. If leaders are sitting at home and working, how do they manage their shop floor level activities? Do they have the right to get frustrated because they cannot connect with employees on a routine basis? Answer is no, right? So I think EQ will develop, companies will invest in EQ. Now, this may not be something which will come in employees' hand as cash, right? But companies are making necessary investments on it. And it is important to understand that as an employee, it benefits me in person, right? When my supervisor deals with me in a nice way, it benefits me in a person. There's a psychological alignment. There's a good superior subordinate relationship issue going on over there, right? And like we always know, you ask anybody in HR, what is the topmost reason for any person leaving the organization? They'll say that I have a bad manager, right? So I think if the companies are investing in well-being of people, if the companies moving on will focus on investing in healthcare mechanisms, trying to give appropriate medical insurance policies to the employees, these will be most important elements. And then at this particular point in time, in COVID situation, most of the companies are not doing increments for obvious reasons. But yes, I have heard of some companies who have given away bonuses for last year. They have not stopped bonuses, but they did not do increment this year so that they avoid any further incremental value on the payroll cost as such. So I think these are the three perspectives that companies would be looking at. This is what my CEO would definitely be looking at.
Yeah, thanks. And Kunal, your presentation is very wonderful. So all the best.
Absolutely.
Thanks for
Thank you
joining.
so much.
All the best. I hand over to now Mehul.
Thank you guys for having me on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Kunal.